Thank you. So, idea comes from our collaboration with agriculture sector, and we found that there is some things where agriculture meet the forestry, and that is when we are doing with fruit trees because they have fruits, and at the same time they have beautiful timbers and beautiful wood, which could be also used for some forestry product production. So, therefore, a team from 3 institutions come together, quite a large team, and aim of our project is developing of sweet cherry or wild cherry vegetative propagation technologies. So we used to test cuttings and tissue cultures and setting up test plantations for testing the vitality of local and introduced most promising clones, which are suitable for wood and fruit processing in field conditions. And activities which we are doing is performing on seedlings grown by researchers in Latvia. So those are from previous early established stands, and to take them, the most promising ones for propagation in tissue cultures, and also Institute of Horticulture take a look on that one. They try to do routing of cuttings like they do in normal practice because it's cheaper and simpler, but not so resultative. And also there is company who had interests in agriculture and forestry to get it together to plant trees on former agricultural land and to get income a little bit earlier as normally. And that is LTD Paulus. Duration of our project is very short. It's just 3 years. For forestry, it's really very short time period. So that's why we take just these propagation issues, and that's why we take a look on early established plantations. And budget is not huge, so it means that we are doing several activities, and for all involved ones, that's part-time job. So background: researchers of Silava found that cherries escaped from manures and gardens are performing very well in the forest. And some of them in forest looks really very promising. So that is the farmhouse forester tool. And there is cherries which are in forest. They have nice stem, and also they have some fruits. And sometimes these fruits are very small and tiny, and sometimes they are reasonable to consider them as orchard culture. And so Institute of Horticulture, they did genetical resources planting, where they picked up trees, wild cherry or sweet cherry trees from Latvia gardens, and they found that those trees want to grow tall and they want to be big. But for modern nowadays horticulture, we need small ones and short ones to have more easy access to the fruits and to pick up fruits easier. So, and foresters, some of them, when they are doing afforestation or when they are doing forest regeneration, they have interest to grow something not so common, something as niche product, and some more interesting species. And therefore, we put together all these problems and turning from burden to opportunity to use that tendency of local genetical resources to grow tall and big as benefit, and to combine two kinds of land use at the beginning, to use it as agriculture, like as orchard, and in the end, it could be like forestry. So, and that's our innovation. So we think that in the beginning, trees will be for berries, and later on, they will be for timber. Therefore, we picked up branches planted them in as micro cuttings in a tissue culture environment, growed up some shoots, and or put them like cuttings in the substrate. And also we picked up some seeds from trees, which looks very promising. And these trees have very different berries from color till the size. So each customer could choose which one he would like to have in his garden. And also we did measurements of fruits and also measurements of these pits or bone. In Latvian it is bone. And we found that some cultivars and for timber and cultivars for berries in berry size is very similar. So there is not so big difference. And when we are looking on next part of our research, so there is a in better scale to see how looks these berries which coming from fruit trees and how looks berries which is coming from timber trees. And when we take a look on dry matter, so we could see that these fruit ones, they are just more juicy ones. It means that if we are going to food processing and if we are going to dry cherries, there's no so huge difference between those ones and these ones. And if we are going to dry the fruits, maybe even these ones are better because there's less water should be dried out from the material. So it's quite promising. The next one step, that's our challenge. The challenge, my challenge for us is to understand how to do better to plant exactly to the bigger one container, not to have several overplantings, or to plant at the beginning in the small ones, and then those ones who performing well to plant to bigger ones. We think that we could to sow or to plant already in the beginning in the bigger ones, because you see that there is small outplants, there's 1 week old outplants, and there's 2 week old outplants after tissue cultures. And almost all these containers are full. So probably we could plant directly to these ones or sow directly to these ones because we had very good results in survival. But when we planting those ones directly to the forest like this, we found that maybe better is to let them to grow 1 year in such conditions in nursery to develop more strength root system, which is able to compete with such kind of overgrowth if you are going to plant trees in forest environment. If you are going to plant trees in former agricultural land, which is well managed, and we could do this one. It's almost the same as in nursery, but just planting distance is different. And another one's challenges, those are protection against browsing. And I saw that there are also a question to the previous speakers, are you managing browsing by the drones? Yes, we should protect our seedlings, and it could be done for individuals. It could be done for whole area by fencing. In our case, we are protecting them as individuals. Later on, to get nice stems, anyway, we should prune them. So there's an additional activity. And cherries, they are not growing fast as poplars and as hybrid aspen. So that is long-term investment. And therefore, this challenge or burden that they are growing slow could be compensated with berries, which we could pick up from those trees. For example, those ones which is Swedish clones, 10 and 30, they clone 30 also have good quality berries, and later on we could make from them very nice stems. And looking back and to the future, so I already told that next time we will sow directly to the bigger substrates to avoid these several outplantings. And perspective for future is that we will keep the promising ones in collection in our lab in these small, nice places. And perspective for future, we will continue to survey those ones which were grown up from the most promising ones by seeds as individuals for propagation in vitro in future. Because in this picture you could see that there is plants which had been planted 15 years ago. So some of them are 4 meters tall, and some of them in the same time reached 11 meters. And also dimensions in breast height are very different. Those ones have just 4, 6, but those ones have 15 centimeters in breast diameter. And the difference in berries size is not so big. So there is potential to find beautiful timber which have beautiful berries and to get income in first years from berries and then let them grow as timber tree and pick up, not pick up, but to get beautiful boards for furniture and from some another purposes. And finally, there is already some published data that is about in Proceedings of Latvian Academy of Sciences, and that's about distribution in Latvia and clones of this wild or sweet cherries in forest, and about results of clone selection. So they perform in Latvia well. Even we should not plant them in low areas and in wet areas, and then it's okay. And also there is a presentation about fruit properties in student conference, and as well later on you could find our presentations on web. And there is in the first slide and in the last slide, there's link to video where you could see how look like our sweet cherry plantations. Yeah, and that's all. And if you would like to ask some questions, then there is my contacts. That's about the project and idea in general, and mostly about the sweet cherry as agroforestry system where could we fix 3 things together. That's not topic of this project, but we found that we are sure that the best thing for sweet cherry is to grow it in agroforestry system. It means that in the first year, while first 3 years, well, fruits are not appearing yet, you could grow something between lines, some agriculture crop like agroforestry. Then additionally, fruits from trees are coming, and later on, trees grow bigger. We could prune them, and the main crop at that time will be tree as timber. And if you would like to ask about the results in previous plantings, there is Mutrīte Daugaviete and Santa Celma are doing PhD thesis on that one. And that's Treigute is the right person to whom ask how to perform it well in tissue culture. Yeah, that's all. Thank you for the attention.